Let's go.
In this episode, we target some new species in the Mary River. Welcome to my fishing place, the place to be. In this episode, we head up the Mary River, a place that Big Red, you and I have talked about many times, heading up in a kayak, going up for some of those famous Australian species, and we finally got in some yaks and headed up for a great time. And on the adventure, we had Bracey with us, leading the charge.
And he promised us massive fish. He said, if we go home empty-handed, I will eat my hat and drive home with an unsecured gas bottle in my trailer on the way home.
And you should see how well he cooks up Mary River cod. Unbelievable. Mate, talk about Master Chef.
So the Mary River, it's a beautiful piece of water. It comes from up around Conondale on the Sunshine Coast hinterland and flows out at Maryborough and holds a myriad of species, including bass, sooty grunter, Mary River cod, the lungfish, catfish as well.
Bracey's favourite catfish.
Plenty of them in there.
And up the other end there's Barra. There's everything in the Mary River. You fished it a few times, Dave?
Yeah, I have. There's one species you left out there is probably the Saratoga. Every now and again you'll come across Saratoga, so it's another awesome Australian species.
Yeah.
Well, we were headed up to try and get a first-time species for both of you guys. Hadn't caught a sooty grunter before, and so that was sort of targeting that first-time fish. How'd you find it, Daz?
It always is great targeting that. The first time you caught a species, doesn't matter how big it is usually, but it's just something about, targeting species and getting that first of that species.
The day started out, we went to that first spot we looked at, and the banks were pretty steep, weren't they?
They were. It was pretty hard portage getting the kayaks down there.
Yeah, and then we found that other spot where we could get them down a bit easier. And it was a beautiful patch of water, wasn't it? And just looked super
That
fishy.
screamed fish. It absolutely screamed fish.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long in the yaks. We'd pulled ourselves over a few stones. Big Red was whinging as usual. But we finally got to a couple of nice stretch of river. And again, you don't have to fish with the most exotic of lures. I was using one of the old Rebel Crawdads, one of the original favourite bass lures, it's still around, and throwing that around the snags, and got my first little sooty grunter. So, yes, go on. A little sooty, is it? Yeah. Let's go. Love it. First ever sooty. Yeah, it wasn't big, but it's that first of that species, so really, really great fun to catch. I'd like to catch a bigger one, but they're a lot of fun to catch. Later that evening, again, another rebel, but it got around dark. But we came back up the creek, and Dave said, look, let's just throw a couple of surface lures around here, see what we can raise up. And I said, if there's little sooties, I'll put on one of these little pop R's. And sure enough, on about the third cast, bang, up a little sooty come and hit the surface lure. So I managed to get a sooty on a regular hard body and then on a little surface popper as well. So weren't big, but I enjoyed catching those first couple of sooties. Surface popper. So we throw it out there on dark. Yes.
Beautiful.
Nice little sooty. Cool.
Coming up after the break, when fishers lose control.
And so there we were down the Mary River, and we come across this, how fishy did that, just this massive hole.
Screamfish.
And screamfish. And you got a couple of good bass, Bracey.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was good fun. Just rolling. Again, it was this 3-inch Z-Man minnows just over some rock ledges, and yeah, bang.
Fish on.
Fish on. Yeah.
Yes, the bass.
Now, there's an interesting clip that I think Mr. Dave Brace put on his either Facebook or something. There's an interesting clip that we might be able to watch now, and let our viewers decide on what they think. But it's Dave giving the catfish a good rap. Have a look.
Caddy. Go. Give you a better look at it. Belong in the river as much as any other fish. Just got to watch out for these spines.
Now, what do you reckon, Dave? Is that true? Is that the catfish is a good species? Do you target them often? Do you target them?
I don't target them often. But I have a belief that every fish has a belonging in every ecosystem.
And that's enough from Dave. And,
Damn catfish again.
See, after that battle with that caddy, look at this plastic. Wouldn't tell it's been touched. Those Z-Mans, mate. Unbreakable.
It was good fun. We headed up there, we targeted fish, we got onto a first one for Dazza for sooties. Lee, you got some the next day. We got some good bass. So it was a heinous walk though. In the kayaks was like, it was death.
Tough country.
Oh, it was tough. Iron Man here, just like kayak on one shoulder, you know.
In fact, I think it was the point where I got tired. He took my kayak on his other shoulder.
2 kayaks, and then we just hung off his belt and he just dragged us up. But it was dark, and it was like Big Red hadn't done so well on the fish. I hadn't caught any fish that afternoon, and then it got to one of those moments, and it happens sometimes on a fishing trip. We were tired, worn out, Big Red had had enough of them, so we're walking up in the dark, and next minute, it's just a tirade. Just this explosion.
come on.
It was like, wow, where did that come from?
Okay. Well, yeah, what no one realises is that when 2 days before, I'd got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to fish a local creek with Dave, and I'd got 2 massive sticks, one under my big toe and one in the soft part of the heel.
It's terrible.
And I bought these. These are really designed well for walking up creeks, right? Because you know what, that never pulls out when you're trying to lift it. You know, rocks never get under there.
Look, and it happens in fishing. It happens.
You lost it.
I must admit, I did lose it at one point in the dam. I did. We were targeting Barra. I hooked up. I knew I was on, but everyone was giving me grief about not turning on my GoPro. So I'm trying to lean forward. I'm trying to hit play on the GoPro, and I've lost the fish, which was hook solid. And yeah, I may have let fly a little bit. Oh, I dropped it trying to get to the GoPro. GoPro can kiss not touching again.
You dropping it in the GoPro.
Try turning the thing on.
That's funny.
Never again. GoPro's not allowed in my boat.
Right.
I did promise never to use one of those machines again.
But speak of losing it, the most controlled of all of us, I do believe at one stage, Dave and Kieran had a tangle. And I think I heard a couple of words.
Oh, it wasn't from me.
Yeah, I put one straight. Dave's caught, I put one straight over him. Total Muppet mistake. Poor Dave's really patient, unhooking it. And then he's trying to retie and he had to cut. And then,
It was just on dart.
yeah, just on dart. Poor, I felt sorry for you. You fish with Muppets, mate. You were very patient, you were very kind. You waited for me to drift out of earshot before you said, "What is this idiot I'm fishing with?"
But yeah, the walk back wasn't pleasant. Then we had the hill at the end. But Dave goes, let's run up it. Dude,
Our eyes were absolutely hanging out of our heads. Like, we had really, really fished hard. And to these guys' credit, I tell you, these guys can fish, and I can guarantee they are hardcore. Yeah.
After the break, Keza gets a big bass on Old Faithful.
So the next day, we found another section of the river that looked really, really fishy.
Nearly done. Last morning, spent, see if we can get some fish, and it'll be job done.
Dropped the kayaks in. And you were on a fish nearly straight away.
Yeah, straight away. It was good. Just casting the lure again, same lure that I was using the day before, and into this log, this lay-down log that came down, and yeah, within 10 casts, I was hooked up to another bass, so cool. Happy days.
Yeah. It's amazing how you can have a full tackle box of lures. I mean, we had so much gear, but I had done 2 days and not had a fish. And so I just thought I'd go back to Old Faithful, and I pulled out a Rebel frog lure of all, which is one of my all-time favourite lures. And I hadn't tied it on for that long, and we found a little stretch, and David drifted past. He mentioned it. He goes, "Oh, what about that over there?" And I was sort of cruising past. I just flicked my lure straight in, and the old Rebel frog produced a battling Aussie bass. He was a stonker. He was battle scarred, but I hooked up, and then he got stuck in the log, and I'm thinking, oh no, I fished for 2 days. And I'm hooked, and he's in the log, and you came over to rescue us, Dave.
Oh, if you knew how big it was then.
Oh,
yeah.
well, you didn't tell me.
No, I didn't.
You unhooked it and let me go, because I probably would have broke out in a sweat if I'd known.
Holy smoke.
Yeah! Yeah!
That's him on my little frog. Favourite little frog lure. Nice, Aussie bass. No, yeah, that was great.
So, let me get this straight. Dave told you where to cast the lure. Dave come and got the fish off the log, yet you're claiming you caught it.
I claim it, total.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Perfect skill.
No, that's fine. I'm not, hey, who am I to judge?
Ah.
Perfect, but and then we floated down a bit further, and there's another sooty.
Yeah, a couple of sooties. Yeah. In fact, I think Dave mentioned earlier in the show about how the Aussie natives often sit above or below some rapids, and there was this little hole had overhanging trees. We'd put a couple of casts in, sort of nothing, and I just, and before I've used it for fishing for bass before, I threw the lure in, and it's a technique that, you know, can get your fish when, you know, you don't know they're there, and I let it float all the way down, right underneath the sticks. And about 2 cranks later, whack, a nice little sooty came out.
That worked. And he missed it.
We went all the way in there that time. Yeah. Little tiny sooty. Shows you exactly what we were trying to do. Throw the lure right in there, let it float down the stream, and then pull it back out of the branches. I want to let it float about 2 metres under all the branches. Got right in there.
Oh, how'd you do that?
That's gold, isn't it? So it's a great little technique of letting your lure get right down into that where the fish are going to be sitting right underneath those trees. And we kept casting and we pulled sooty after sooty out of that little spot that you would never think was holding fish.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Holy, he's going out of the rapids.
There's your thong, Brad.
Oh, that's my cut foot. Oh, second little sooty. Little sooty.
So it was amazing to catch a few of those little natives around the trees and the snags and in the Mary.
If it wasn't for me, we would have kept moving and not got any fish.
Wow. Rescued the show. Thanks, Dazza.
I got a couple of nibbles under the foam, and it wasn't. And you bring it under that branch, crank, doo, doo, but you know, little fish. But it's just amazing that they're sitting there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm on. Please, oh. Oh, bangles.
Well, let's just, does that pass, Mark? Grab it. Just one more go.
Yeah, so always be willing to, like, you know, let your lure float right, you know, cast it right against the bank, and often, you know, if there's overhanging things, let it float down with the current before you even start. And I think we got some footage also of a free swimming bass that was right there amongst it, followed one of the sooties out and sort of stayed amongst it. It was amazing. We could see it with the polarised sunnies, this bass swimming around. Oh, without the polarised sunnies, no, you would never see it. You know, if you don't have yourself a good set of polarised sunnies, it's a great investment, you know, and buy a decent pair, and you know, it really will help you fishing a lot.
After the break, the Mary River adventure continues.
In the end, you know, it was a beautiful day in the kayak. Yeah, we could have caught a couple of bigger fish, but still, it was just a great day on the water.
Oh, look, a lot of people say too that, you know, oh, it was such a nice day, you know, catching a fish would be a bonus. I mean, I'm a fisherman, I love catching fish, but occasionally I actually believe that statement. Yeah. And honestly, you were happy to get up early. I'm not an early riser, as people know.
It's been a mega week and it's 4 o'clock again.
But, you know, I was happy to get up early.
He actually said this morning, he goes, I would do anything not to fish right now. It was early. It's early for early.
But, you know, I was happy to get up early and get out there and paddle early. Yeah.
And anyone can do it. Doesn't cost you anything. You can use the simplest of gear. You go find a nice system, jump in the kayak, and it's accessible to anyone. And that's the great thing about fishing. You don't have to have a big budget. You can find somewhere reasonably close to where you live, I'm sure. Most places have a creek or a system. Put your yak in and you can be up for a fantastic time.
So Dave, I just want to ask, you were telling us a story earlier on. What would have been your best catch in the Mary, do you reckon?
The biggest bass I've probably caught was around about that 55 centimetre mark. And it's a true wild bass. There's Saratoga through there, and I have caught Saratoga up around about 80 centimetres in length. So yeah, that's just another great Australian species. An endangered species is the Mary River cod. You're not meant to target them. And that is just bycatch. And they have a spawning period during that time where I don't even go to the Mary River or any tributary of the Mary River during that time. So, and the biggest Mary River cod I've got is about 85 centimetres out of the system. Yeah. But again, they're an endangered species. They need to be handled correctly if they are caught as a bycatch, and again, treated with much care and respect. And I don't even like taking them out of the water, and it's just removing the lure after they've been caught and then released. Yeah.
Well, it was a massive week. That week we call it Fishing with Bracey, mate. We really appreciate you coming on board. At the end of it, I come home and I said to my wife, I'm nearly dead. I just need to have 3 days sleep. And so, mate, great week. Thanks so much. We got onto some great fish, and we look forward to do some more fishing again at some stage.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for having me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, I really enjoyed the week that we had together. And as a mate, I really am looking forward to taking you up to a few other spots I've got further up north, and we'll hook into some big fish. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate.
Awesome.
Well, guys, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next week.
Next episode, we're back in the kayaks at Lake Lentils.